Welcome to this week's episode of Straight Shootin' Outdoors. Today we are going to sight in the Spot Hogg Fast Eddy single pin. I love this sight. I got it about 2 years ago. Like I said, it's a single pin. I used to shoot a multi-pin. Didn't really have a whole lot of success with it. Found that there was too much stuff in the way to see the animal clearly. Switched over to this after thinking long and hard. Quite like it a lot. There's a lot less stuff in the way. One pin to worry about. Never get confused. There is some disadvantages though. You do have to set it to the yardage when you range the animal, so it is a little slower. You don't have a bunch of pins racked ready to go, but I prefer this quite a bit. But today we are going to go over how to sight this in. So first things first, Spot Hogg sends everything you need to sight this in with. All the sight tapes, calibration tapes, you name it. So first things first, we're going to shoot from 20 yards, get that marked with just a pencil on our dial here, and then I will show you how to put the calibration tape on, where to put it. So we're going to get dialed in from 20 yards here. So we got our Spot Hogg Fast Eddy dialed in at 20 yards here. We're going to cut the calibration tape out, put it on. I've just marked 20 yards on my yardage dial here with just a pencil for now. That's all you need to do. Let's get that calibration tape on. So now we got our sight tapes all laid out here. We got our calibration tape, and then all these ones, our calibration tape will tell us which number to pick out of these ones. And we just need to shoot 60 yards here, get a good tight group going, and we can use, it'll tell us which number to use here. I'll show you that a little later. First, let's get our calibration tape on here. Nice thing about these tapes is these tapes will work with all Spot Hogg side dial sights. So my girlfriend shoots a side dial sight as well, that's Spot Hogg. I can use my tapes on hers. If we lose hers, she can use my tapes. Okay, so like I said before, I know you don't get to see my pretty face this time around, but you're gonna have to go without. So like I said before, we're gonna cut out our calibration scale tape. Now you do want to be fairly precise when cutting this out because it won't go on your dial very nicely. So I've got two left here. I've already used one on a previous sight-in, but now that I'm got my lighted nocks on, my broadheads, I kind of want to sight in again just to make sure everything's clear and right in the right spot. So I'm going to cut this out fairly nice here and stick this on my bow now on the sight-in dial. I don't know if you can see it here, but there's little numbers all along this side here. So I'm going to line my 20 yards up with the pencil mark on my sight dial. I'm going to stick that on there as best as I can get it. Then I am going to shoot at 60 yards. Whatever number 60 yards lines up with, that is the corresponding tape that I'm going to cut out. So these have numbers on the top. Whatever number 60 yards lines up with my calibration tape on this right hand side here is the number of sight tape I'm going to stick on that sight dial. One thing I like to do, I like to cut right at 20 so I can line that directly up with where I have my pencil mark. So let's stick this on there. Like I said before, you want to cut it pretty precise. Mine's still a little too wide here, so I'm going to take a little bit off the side that doesn't have numbers. Fit it in there. I cut mine a little smaller so they can actually get in there. As long as you don't cut the numbers off on the right hand side, you should be good. So let's get that on there right at 20 yards. Looking pretty good. Looking pretty good there. Now you can spin this because you got 20 yards marked. Just make sure that's going to stick nice and good there. Push it down with your finger. But make sure you get 20 yards marked exactly where it needs to be, or it's gonna be pointless to shoot from 60 if you don't have 20 marked. So there, I got 20 marked. Now I need to sight in for 60. It'll tell me which sight tape number to use, and I'll stick that on after. But let's get dialed in for 60 here. Welcome back. So now we are dialed in at 60 yards here. Our pointer for our sight dial is going to point to the number on the calibration tape that we need to cut out of the sight tapes. So right now I am looking at 25 is what it looks like it's pointing at. I'll show you a little closer here. We are sitting at 25. It's kind of hard to see. So my top pointer is sitting at 25. Now this sight does have 2 pins. I've taped over the bottom pin. I don't really like it. I could have got the 1 pin, but this is what they had in stock, so I went with it. So I used the top pointer. It's pointing at 25. So now I'm going to find the sight tape that says 25, and I'm going to cut that out. 25 is right there. So I'm going to cut this one out. And it does have numbers on both sides of the tape as well. Zoom out so you guys can see here. It does have numbers on both sides of the tape for left and right-handed shooters. My sight is a right-handed sight, but the sight tapes work with every single dial Spot Hogg sight. So I'm cutting this one out, 25. I chop off the top here too. Take your time cutting because it's going to matter as well. Okay, so there, we got it all cut out. Ready to stick that on our sight dial. So if you're right-handed, your pin's going to be on the left side of the dial. So I usually cut off the left sides of the numbers. Okay, so now we got our sight tape on. We got 20 yards right at the top here, if you can see that. So we got 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, all the way to 100. And this sight figured out all the other yardage that we need. So we shot 20 and 60, and it's going to figure out everything else for us here. So there you have it. That's how you sight in the Spot Hogg single pin. Now that should work for almost any Spot Hogg single pin. And we got all these extra tapes left over we can use if we ever switch arrows, field tips, whatever. I also like to, when I take the calibration scale tape off, I stick it to the back of other tapes so that I could possibly use it again. So now you know how to sight in your single pin Spot Hogg. And that's this episode of Straight Shootin' Outdoors. Tune in next time.